Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. Let's jump right into roll call. Luke Aguilar. Here. Joey Bryant.
Here.
Dr. Serafini. Trey Justin.
Here.
Brittany Kinsella.
Here.
Elena Lenway.
Here.
Jacqueline Robinson.
Here.
Renee Skiles.
Here.
Brittany Stamness.
Here.
Patrick Stanton.
Here.
Spencer Sutton.
Here.
Tom Boutron.
Here.
Perfect. Moving on to Section 3, approval of this week's agenda. If you could take a minute to review that.
There's one amendment to the agenda under new business, Section B. Publicity Center is moving up to number I to go first due to other commitments. The rest is all. We move from 6 to 1.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this week's agenda. Trey moves, Jacqueline seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to approval of last week's minutes. If you could take a minute to review that. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve last week's minutes. Trey moves, Brittany seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions, motion passes. Moving on to Section 5 reports. I don't have any reports.
A few are, one as a reminder that Monday is deliberations, so we're meeting at noon up in here to go over that. We have it scheduled for a few hours. We are providing lunch. I don't know if you have the options with you. You will all get an email first thing tomorrow morning. We have a whole host of them, but we have to only pick 2 that we all have to select from. So if there are any dietary restrictions or needs, please let Vinay know tonight before you leave. And we'll send out some options and then pick whatever the top 2 are that you all vote on, so we can get that put in. But I honestly think, that's the biggest piece. Again, make sure to come with any questions and pieces, just so you all know, and I'll announce at the beginning, it is an open meeting, so anyone is available to come to it. There is open comments at the beginning of the meeting for any of the areas or any people coming in who want to share feedback with us. And then when we get into the discussion deliberation, it is going to be strongly encouraged by Gary and myself that we not refer to the gallery, because again, any questions should already been answered, and to avoid added time, because it's already going to take us a significant amount of time to deliberate.
And the place is where?
Here. Yeah, same place, same bench. So, we'll be set there. Other than that, I don't have anything else. You're an advisory role.
Oh. Well, I guess I can mention how much is left for supplementals, right?
Yep.
Last week, these 4, Prairie Festival, Gathering North American Workshop, CCM Workshop, and ASC were approved.
Yeah.
No, that's tonight.
Yeah.
These,
Those 2.
These 2 were approved, and I have the form to take to the VFC on the 14th to get that approval. So prior to these 4 tonight, we have $34,350.95 of what we had started with. Go ahead.
Yep.
First
One of those 4 is actually scheduled for our first meeting at Spring Quarter. Where we stay right now is $34,350 for the rest of it.
About 10 weeks left, 11.
Thank you, Patrick. Any more advisory reports? All right, moving on to Section 6, public comment first call. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, moving on to Section 7, old business. Seeing no old business, moving on to Section 8, new business, supplemental funding request presentation for 1717 Get Lit Literary Festival in the amount of $482.40.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. This is Olivia and Gina. We're 3 of 8 students requesting funding for a hotel room to attend the Get Lit Literary Festival. So I want to start by reading some of the learning objectives from the Professional and Creative Writing Program, which we all are part of. including students will apply knowledge of writing in a professional setting. Students will demonstrate their writing competency by successfully meeting the rhetorical needs of situations requiring the application of a variety of genres and styles. And students will understand and be able to articulate orally and in writing how literature is contextualized historically and culturally. Attending GitLit not only fulfills these learning objectives, but gives us new ground in which to apply them. So GitLit is a week-long literary festival nearby in Spokane, and it gathers writers, publishers, authors, reviewers, and just people who love to read from all over the Pacific Northwest. There's a variety of events. There's workshops, readings, there will be books published and publishing parties during the festival, as well as panels. And our attendance at GitLit will allow us to not only interface with all of these things, we'll be able to go to readings by authors like Jamal May, who is an award-winning poet, and do workshops with him actually, and interface with him not only on his work, but our work. We'll also be able to go to panels and hear from published authors and people who have gotten degrees like the degrees we're currently seeking and are applying them successfully in the real world. We'll also be able to see books be published and how that works and interface with publishers from all over the writing community, both in Washington, but also regionally and nationally. So GitLit is in a creative setting, kind of like Source is for CWU, but on a wider level. And ultimately, our goal here is not just to have fun hearing from other authors, but to really put into practice the things we've been learning in our program, to see people who have gone through these programs and are successfully applying them both creatively and financially in the world, and to bring those goals back here to CWU and enrich our entire program with them.
Another way that this festival will be helpful is that the 8 of us will be going, but part of this festival, as Jennifer had mentioned, is making connections, and making connections with established, well-known authors. So here at Central, we have a program in the English department called Lions Rock Visiting Writer Series. And what that is several times a quarter, the English department will bring in writers and have them do a workshop with students at noon. And then in the evening, they'll come in and give a reading. And so one huge benefit for going is that we're able to meet writers that we would have never been able to meet before and make connections with them so that they know us and might be willing to come back and meet with students here, because our whole department can't go. But if we can meet these people and get to know them on a first-name basis, and they know us, they know our program, it'll make them much more willing to come and visit with us and share the knowledge that they've learned with students here, because that's why we're here. We're here to learn how to become writers and how to go out into the world. And the best way that we can do that is by meeting people who have already done that. And so for this trip, as mentioned, our group is requesting $482. And what that money will be covering is 2 hotel rooms at the Ruby 2 Hotel in Spokane. And so that will be 2 hotel rooms for 8 students. And the hotel is offering a discounted price for us as students because we are attending the festival. And for personal costs, we will be covering gas, food, and the events there. The GitLit Festival is already reducing their costs because we're students. And then the rest of the prices for admittance, we will be covering ourselves.
So we think this would be really beneficial, as both of my friends have already stated, to help us get to know and network with other writers, authors, publishers, editors, just people within the literary community, but we also wanted to showcase our program and how active and willing to participate in the literary community the students here within our program are and really want to be involved. So that's something we really hope that you see as well. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the presenters? Tom?
How did you share experience with the non-literature students?
Oh, that's a great question. Recently we got to be a part of an interdisciplinary art show, Music and Words Protest. Music and Words Confront War. There we go. Someone's put the wrong verb in there. It was really cool because there was poetry readings as well as dance, theater, and so the skill of the poets was a direct influence in building something that was really beautiful for a multitude of majors. And I think in instances like that, as we learn and our program gains confidence and footing, we can be a benefit to the rest of the school. 'Cause one of the things we talk about in our major a lot is that writing is not just for creative atmospheres, but there's careers in all sectors right now looking for writing, from the government to business to other things, because as we enter a more social media age, we have to be able to articulate ourselves well in words. So I think that as we, this is part of the creative writing program finding footing and confidence to be able to benefit other majors on campus.
How many nights in the rooms are you guys getting? So it is a week-long program, but we are going to be going Thursday through Sunday. So Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. We're not going for the rest of the week purely because we have classes and we're students first. So we'll be going later.
Are there any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to supplemental funding request presentation 1718, the Gathering of Native Americans workshop in the amount of $767.
Let's see. It's not that one. It's not open. So, on this one, right? You know what it's called?
Okay. Just as a point of information, we may need to vote on this tonight since this event is happening in 6 days.
You know what it's called?
Sure.
My name is Christina White. I'm a graduate student in the Cultural and Environmental Resource Management program here at Central. It's my first year. I'm really enjoying my time here. And I'm presenting today on the Gathering of Native Americans, which is a training curriculum sponsored by the Native Wellness Institute. And this is just a little bit of background about the Native Wellness Institute. Their focus are healthy relationships, youth leadership, workplace wellness and staff development, and educational wellness conferences, retreats, and trainings. So that's kind of what I'm concerned with. The Gathering of Native Americans curriculum is a curriculum that was developed in 1993 and 1994 specifically to treat historical trauma in Native Americans. And the core components of the curriculum are focusing on coming back to belonging and self-identity, because a lot of Native Americans have struggled with loss of identity through boarding schools and assimilation. Mastery, healing from what holds us back, and that talks about bringing up issues of historical trauma and identifying intergenerational patterns. And then in identifying them, being able to heal from them. Interdependence, so working on building positive relationships in your community, within your family, and then generosity, then being able to give back to your community.
So those are the cores of this specific curriculum, and it's one of the most accessible curriculums for treating historical trauma. There's not really anything that's been developed to address the specific issue, and historical trauma is categorized differently because of the fact that it perpetuates intergenerationally, and so something that happened to somebody 2 generations ago will show up, you know, in their children, even though that event did not happen to specifically to that person, like their parent being in boarding school. Because the parent didn't have any, growing up, because they didn't have any relationship with a parent, because they were in a boarding school, then they didn't know how to parent, and so that perpetuates through the generations, things like that. And then they suffered a lot of abuse, and so that continues down through the generations. So that's why historical trauma is not treated with like psychological treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that, because the things that are used to treat like post-traumatic stress disorder, because the issues are intergenerational and a little bit more than that. So the woman that's actually running this training in Suquamish is a really well-known trainer. She's actually a co-founder of the curriculum, and she's a founding board member of the Institute. She's worked with over 500 tribes and for over 34 years on this kind of thing. So she has a lot of experience, so this is a really unique opportunity. It's located on the Suquamish Indian Reservation, so it's really close, and they perform this training all over the United States, and so it rarely comes here, so this is a really great opportunity. And I presented to SAS yesterday, and they've approved the funding for $300 towards this, and then I've $100 of my personal funds, and then also meals and incidentals too, which I did. The benefits of this, I think from my own personal education, just because of where I come from, but it would also provide me with the training and ability to facilitate workshops here on campus if there was interest in that. Also networking, you know, for individuals in my field. I mean, I'm researching medical anthropology, indigenous views of wellness, so this would allow me to network with professionals that are in the industry, and I think it would be really beneficial. It's a unique educational experience, and I also plan on bringing what I learned back to the Native Student Association, which I'm a part of, and presenting my findings here along with any other conference that I'm going to go to at SOARS. And then my learning objectives are, obviously, this will teach about American Indian Alaska Native health disparities, current treatment methods to address historical trauma, and then allow me to become a Gathering of Native Americans workshop facilitator.
Does the board have any questions?
I know in your funding request you had put on there that there was a request for the Equity and Services Council.
Yeah, I didn't, no, I haven't, I didn't get it in the appropriate format on time, so for this one, but for the next funding request. Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Thank you.
Christine, can
Yeah.
you come log out? Or?
She also has the next one.
Oh, you have to.
I just heard about this tonight, so I thought I might as well do. There we go.
Moving on to our next funding request presentation for the annual AAIP CCM workshop.
Okay. So the AIP is the Association of American Indian Physicians, and I thought this was really interesting. Their mission is to pursue excellence in Native American healthcare by promoting education in the medical disciplines, honor traditional healing practices, and restoring the balance of the mind, body, and spirit. And I think that really encompasses a lot of what I'm interested in too in my research. research. This happens in Santa Fe, New Mexico, April 27th to the 30th, and it happens at the same time as what's called the Gathering of the Nations, which is the largest gathering of Native Americans in America. So this is another really unique opportunity. The learning objectives for this workshop would be for me to learn about current cross-cultural treatment practices. For instance, on the Navajo Reservation, they have integrated treatment practices where they will refer natives to traditional healers if they feel that's necessary, or they'll use Western medicine when necessary as well. So that's kind of the new wave of healthcare in at least in Indian country. So this is a really great opportunity to learn about what's currently going on in that area. They also teach ethnobotany in the workshop. And again, I would get to network with professionals who are in, they're healthcare workers, they're statisticians, and they know about health disparities in American Indian and Alaska Native communities, which is a unique issue because there's not a lot of tracking of health statistics or good tracking of health statistics in Indian country. So this is an opportunity to network with people that might have, better ways of finding that kind of information. And then I would be able to network with, professionals that work with the Indian Health Services in the federal government, just to be able to see, what's going on in this arena. And then they also teach medicine making. And so obviously the benefits of being able to network in medical anthropology. There's currently not a profession that specializes in medical anthropology on campus, and so this would kind of enrich my experience here to be able to network with people, and it's all the more important, I feel like, to be able to network outside so that I can, gain some mentors in this field, because there's a lot of really good people that work in this field. And then I would be able to learn a unique application of medical anthropology, so about cross-cultural medicine, and present my findings at source. And then I'm also working with the anthropology department and the Native American Student Association to develop a medicinal garden outside the front of the anthropology department. And I think this would be really beneficial, just the ethnobotany component would be really beneficial for the planning and development of that garden, which hopefully we've been talking about having it in by next year. And it would be there would be an educational component to it, so we would develop plaques and talk about the indigenous names for the plants, and so everybody's pretty excited about that, so that would be another benefit. I'm applying I've already applied to SAS. I'll be presenting at their next meeting. And also ESC, and I'll be using personal funds for the meals and incidentals, and then $100 of my personal funds as well.
Are there any questions on the presentation for the presenter?
Just on there, I know you have the Total Equity and Service Council 1043, which is the same here. Is that really kind of just in case you don't get the funding?
So it's a full ask, and I put in the notes there that if I would receive funding from both, then I would just split that in half between the two.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any other grad students in your cohort that are interested in either of these?
Graduate students, I could think of maybe one more that are. Undergraduate students, I can think of a couple. I just found out about this opportunity, and the conference, that first conference is next week, so I kind of just scrambled together to kind of put this together on my own, but my plan is in the future to bring this kind of stuff to the Native Student Association and see, if there's interest in them participating in this stuff, because I think it would be really beneficial. Yeah. And it helps develop cultural sensitivity on campus, which is like really important.
Are there any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, in lieu of these past two presentations, being that supplemental funding request 1718 happens next week, I would like to entertain a motion to vote on supplemental funding request 1718 this week, as opposed to at our next meeting on March 29th. Trace moves. Is there a second? Jacqueline seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The table's open for discussion.
So, what you just said about the other funding request is the same one with this one, the duplicate $767 amount?
Yes. Yes, but I didn't get the ESC funding through, so it would just be this. This is my only
So
app.
that didn't pass.
No, because I had it handwritten and I didn't realize I was supposed to have it typed, so I needed to resubmit it and it was already too late. When they got back to me, yeah.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter?
So without the $767 from ESC, does that affect the total?
Good.
Yeah, the 767 with both this and the second request were to be a backup to each other. So because ESC, the 767 plus what SAS has given would meet the full funding.
Yeah, you can just cross that out. Without that number, add to the 1297.
We can pay for food, right? Or did we,
What was that?
for the food, did we,
We have the ability, we typically wouldn't, but I think that's also why personal funds on here is the same amount as the meals.
I personally think that the hotel's a little high just for one person. I mean, it is for 4 nights, but it's a lot of money for one student. That's my only concern with it.
And just as a reminder, point of information, that you all could choose to fund the full amount or any amount you would choose. So specifically with the hotels, you can choose to fund it at a lower amount, while the student could then still either get that hotel or find different accommodations. Although another point of information, I will say that that's below per diem for a hotel room in that area.
And sometimes the hotels dictate on the contracts, right? Sometimes.
Is there a motion from anyone on the table?
Yeah, I just kind of stuck on how to make it.
I'd like
Tell me
to,
what you want to say and I'll tell you how to finish it. So.
I would like to make a motion to fund supplemental funding request 17, wait, no.
Yep.
Yeah, 17, 18 for the pool, no?
Yes. See?
There's a motion on the table. Sorry, Luke seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to section 8B, base funding request presentation from the Publicity Center.
Yeah. And then they have a video.
Yes. Oh, did you?
It's on the desk. I don't know.
So we have a student in our office named Julian Smart, who's our student staff videographer. Usually spends his time making really great short videos to promote events and student life on campus. And he used his skills this time to help us put together a little video to tell our story about the Publicity Center. So about 6 minutes long.
Good play?
Please.
Dim the lights.
Yeah.
The Publicity Center is responsible for basically getting students involved on campus in all the many activities. Our job is to promote student life and the experience outside the classroom. We work with a ton of people across campus, pretty much every area in student success. Any department that works with students outside the classroom, I would say we have worked with in some way or another. It's really a very wide range of programs that we promote.
You know, Publicity, we use them for everything in student government. They got over 400 students. 400 students the first day. And that was because of all Publicity's job, was publicizing the event and literally highlighting within the poster why it's important for students to vote. And then second day, we got over 1,200 students that came in and voted. And I couldn't have done without the part of Publicity on that. And that is why we continue to go with them, is that they highlight the importance of the event. Creates that hook and the incentive for the students to come.
You know, I want to commend the staff for the quality work that they do and how they train the students, because across campus many students come in and they have a skill set, but they need that skill set refined. And I think in the center, I know in the center, that's what they do. They bring the best of their skills out. And then we get the end result of that in a product that we receive.
Publicity does basically everything marketing-wise for any of my events. One that comes to mind recently was Mad Chad, the chainsaw juggler on campus. They created an awesome poster for him, and I think we probably got the biggest media package you can get. I definitely think it attracts a lot of people to programs just because you guys reach out to so many different areas on campus that I couldn't necessarily do by myself. Like, you guys get out to the dorms, you get out to the academic buildings, you get out on social media, which is great because you guys have a lot of followers. So I think definitely boost attendance for sure.
Was super cool. It's like, wow, you know, that's the event that I got to schedule, that I worked with, that you guys made happen. So that was pretty incredible. Good experience.
Social media is, you know, as we all know, is a new way of advertising. And coming from a different college, we didn't have that type of source, and it was really hard to get the communication across to a campus of only 5,000 students, because their social media outcome at Centralia College wasn't that great, compared to Central, where we could easily reach out to 2,000 students within the first hour. And so publicity has helped us out a lot into retention, into the recruiting, and even with promoting programs. And so, like I said, our publicity center compared across the state, I wouldn't trade these guys for nothing.
They think outside of the box, and that's what we need for the programs that we do in the Center for Diversity and Social Justice. Because just in the name of the title of who we are, we need to make sure that we are outside of the box and we have inclusion in everything that we're doing.
My favorite thing about working in the Publicity Center would have to be the diversity. We have a spectrum of writers to graphic designers to videographers to people who are inspired by each other's work every day. We're able to, cross over into things that we're not familiar with and learn how to, be inspired by that and have that complement our work. So it's basically just the diversity and the spectrum that we have with each other. I love it. So.
My main role is to be the first contact for new clients coming in who are looking to market their events around campus. Prior to my first day, I didn't really know what to expect. Coming in and seeing such like a open office with many smiles and happy faces and just creative minds synthesizing to make great products for clients, and being able to be in the front lines and see clients as they come in and be able to pitch to them. It's just a wonderful experience, and I'm happy that I've been given that opportunity. Seeing just the leadership that I have in the office is great as well. It helps us stay focused as students, keeps us guided on where we want to go with our minds creatively, while also applying it in a professional workspace with our clients.
I mean, it's probably the most creative environment on campus because it's this amazing blend of talent and excitement, and people come into the office and they're just ready to create something new every day. For us, nothing ever really gets stale because we're always sort of reinventing it. Even if we're just freshening up an old design, usually someone says, well, what if we try to do this or that? So I think that's really cool, getting to reinvent all the time.
And their willingness to accommodate you. That's it, in a nutshell. They know that you are the customer, and they strive to make the customer happy, and that is excellent customer service.
We love Julie. So that's the Publicity Center in a nutshell. My name is Lola Gallagher, and I'm sort of the mom down there. But I want to have these guys introduce themselves, and then we'll talk a little bit more, and then take your questions.
So I'm Justin Beckman. I'm senior graphic designer. I've been in the Publicity Center for about 8 years now. And I work with approximately 5 to 6 student designers to create posters to help promote events and activities across campus to keep students engaged in student life beyond the classroom. And I also work with our videographer, Julian.
I'm Ricky Chowder. I'm the project coordinator. I work with about 6 students. 5 are distribution, and so they take that awesome work and put it out all over campus. And 1 Wildcat Access sales manager, and she takes care of the screens on campus and in the resident office.
My name is Haley Harrell. I'm the content and events marketing supervisor. I've been here a week, so that's exciting. And I work with right now 2 student writers.
Yeah, so the great thing about the staff that we have, the professional staff, they've all worked professionally in their respective fields, and so what they bring to the office, not only the student employees, they get that hands-on mentoring and guidance from people who have been doing the work professionally and have contacts and networks outside of our office.
but also the clients, people we work with on a daily basis have the benefit of knowing that the work that they're getting is going to be at a pretty high professional level, because that's a focus for us. For our student employees is to provide that experience so that they can, when they leave our office and the university, they have these amazing portfolios. They know how to work with clients, customer service. They know how to stay on task and meet deadlines. They can really prioritize, and their communication skills are enhanced. And then on the client side, I mean, you get amazing work, and we are an equal opportunity office, and we love everybody equally. I think that's one of the things we like most about our jobs, is that we just get to work with so many different areas. And I think as the sort of the, I guess, delegated other creative office on campus, we work closely with public affairs to make sure that the university image and branding is consistent, but then we have so much latitude to explore new opportunities. We really work hard to be sort of on the leading edge of new stuff that's happening. Social media is mentioned a lot, and the video is obviously an area of growth for us. That's something new from the last time 4 years ago when we were here asking or proposing our budget. We've had some new things that we've done. One of them is the video, certainly. Another was adding a professional position. This is Ricky's position, which has really helped with our customer service and our workflow and being able to grow our services and programs. And then just some additional student positions in the office to meet the demand. I'm trying to think the thing about the video that's went by really fast. Were the awards, and it went by really fast because our students have won awards every single year except for the 1 year when we didn't submit anything. But super proud of that, and they're all like national or regional awards, so really, really excited about that. Missing.
The key thing is that we've worked really hard over the years to be the go-to spot to find out about events happening on campus. We do a big push during the summer with all of the incoming freshmen to get them following our social media. So that's a big part of how we spend our summer. And once they're following us on Twitter and Instagram and all of our various social media accounts, then we're able to really push the activities happening across campus and student life out to a broad audience.
Questions?
Do you want to touch base on the updated?
Oh, yes, sorry. So I left something important off of the original request, which was request for funding of the Hike publication. That's a quarterly publication. Are you all familiar with that? Previously, that was funded out of a different budget, not the publicity centers, but there's been, changes in organization and department changes, and so we are left without funding for that publication. I think it's been around for like 12, 13 years. And it's really become sort of a first stop for students and faculty, staff, community to find out what's happening on campus. So it's the first source of information that appears every quarter before anything else is out there. And so that's the new addition to that request. We typically have done fall, winter, spring. I added a summer because we have been talking for several years now about having a summer publication. There's been a lot of requests for that and people asking for that. And that would go to orientation students and also the summer school, and it would be laying around ready to be picked up by all the campers and conferences that come through. during the summer. So I think another really great way to get information out about programs, but also that would be sort of focused on the student life aspect of Central.
Are there any further questions?
The only other one I have one, just to make sure, because they're delivering on Monday.
Oh, yes, yes.
In terms of the positions, the only new one that's on there is the graphic designer, right?
Yeah, slightly important.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wrote notes and then I didn't look. That's the other new thing. We are requesting some assistance with funding an additional position, but we're just asking for 50% of a graphic design position. And if we had that, that would allow us to free up Justin to work more closely with Haley in pushing new media opportunities and getting some additional, I guess, really exciting things out there for students, and not diminishing the quality of mentoring and guidance for our student graphic designers. But we feel like if we had another professional staff person in there, that we would be able to support more projects and not diminish the quality of the work that's going out. So that's, with that, then we would hopefully be able to generate additional revenue. I mean, we feel pretty confident about it. We're proposing a 10-month position, so the funding request is for basically 5 months of a graphic design salary. Thanks, Joey. Anything else we can help you out with?
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Moving on to base funding request presentation for the administrative support costs.
Oh, the next one is.
No? Oh, my bad. Base funding request presentation for the academic counselor website. West Side.
Sorry, I got bumped by a video.
Yeah. Maybe all of them.
What?
That works. I'm Scott Carlton. I'm the director for the professional advising group here at Central. And what? Anyway, so the advisory group that I oversee are the advisors that support students who have declared their majors, are in major programs. What I'm requesting is a continuation of half funding of a position at our university centers over on the west side. We have 2 positions over there. We have had a half position funded for many years by S&A. This position is an 11-month position. We serve about 950 on-ground students at our west side centers between Pierce, Des Moines, Linwood, and Everett. There is another 100 to 200 online students that actually seek support at the on-ground centers also. So we're in the neighborhood of 1,100 students that we are supporting with our 2 advisors. Most professional advisors have a caseload of around 500 to 700 students, so we're right in that ballpark where I like to have our staff at, with the number of advisees that they're working with and supporting. Without the S&A funding, I would probably be in a position I'd have to eliminate an advisor, whether it was on the west side or in Ellensburg. I currently have a half a position in Ellensburg that's unfunded already, and to have another one that's unfunded would mean that I would probably have to look at eliminating a position. I don't know where I would be at. These positions work closely with the new incoming students into the centers. They work closely with students who are planning on coming in, very closely with the College of Business, with accounting and business students. I'm trying to think of what other information we might need. This request is a few $1,000s more than the last time we made this, based off of salary increases and some increases in the need for travel for the staff. But it is at about what, $41,500 that we're asking for.
46.
Oh, 46? I should look at what I have in front of me.
I don't,
This is good, yeah.
yeah, I don't have a budget proposal for.
I think any of us do. It's
In the
under
very
S&A.
back.
It says S&A
S&A
website.
Westside Advising.
Way in
It's
the
towards the
back.
back. Oh, okay.
Right before website student hub.
There's another tab that says Academic Counselor Westside. Yeah.
It's a different, I don't know. what it's
No, that's what it was supposed to be, but there's also the S&A Westside. Thank you. Okay.
So it always does help
It
to
was
know what
changed.
somebody's talking about for the budget, right?
The name was changed. There we go. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to change the name every now and
It says
then.
at the top,
Yeah.
the number is different than.
Yeah, because the document I had says 41,500.
That's the top one, and then,
Yeah.
but when you add up all your salaries, it's 46,862.
Okay. So it's 46,000.
It was a 46.
Yes. So, do you guys have any questions about the position, about the
How many students do you employ? Is it?
we don't employ any students at all.
Oh, what's wrong with
Yeah, unfortunately, this is strictly half of an advisor position. So we serve the students there at the Des Moines and Linwood Center and also at Pierce and Everett. But we do not have any student staff out of this budget at all. Unfortunately, it's strictly salary and goods and benefits.
Scott, can you touch on just, again, clarification, because they have the past 3 years' annual reports,
Mhm.
why those fluctuated in terms of was it turnover or different?
Oh, for
students?
the last one, yes. Over the course of 4 years, I think I've had 3 advisors in the position, and so we have had it empty at different times for a few months. And so that has caused a definite fluctuation in how much money we use in any given year. Generally, when we lose a person, it's roughly 3 to 4 months before I get somebody hired in to replace them. And what we find in the Seattle area is a little bit more competitive to keep people. At the salaries that we generally are able to pay, we have had people who have moved on. I have one advisor who, unfortunately, her husband took a job in Arizona and left. And so that's been part of the salary savings that we've had. And so we've had a definite fluctuation from year to year in how much has actually been spent out of the budget. And I think we'll probably, looking at the budget today, there will be money left over from this whole cycle that we will not have spent all of it. So, yes.
How does it work with the advisor? Do they do like one day at each campus, or do they just kind of go one day?
No, I actually have 2 people there, so this supports half of one of them. So they are located at Des Moines and at Linwood. So they are primarily at those 2 sites. My Des Moines advisor does travel to Pierce for their orientations, but generally we support them through either Skype or email. And that's the same with the students at Everett. My Linwood advisor supports them, but it's primarily through email is how they do a lot of that. We do also have them travel between the 2 sites to support each other. These are both 11-month contracts, so they're both gone for the equivalent of a month, not all at the same time, but so they do end up supporting each other in what they're doing. So there is that crossover and that travel. That's why there's travel money there, because they do have to do some traveling between the sites. Questions?
So how is academic advising on the Ellensburg campus funded, and
It is all funded by the state.
so the centers don't receive that same funding?
I get funding for 1.5 positions. And currently in Ellensburg, I am short half a position of funding. In the exploratory advising area, which is not my area, but in that area, they are actually short 2 positions. And so we are concerned that as staff turn over, that we may not in exploratory be able to replace those 2, and possibly in my office, I actually have a half-time position that just gave notice yesterday, and there's question whether or not I'll be able to replace her. And without this funding, then But then we have to make a decision, do we just eliminate a full-time position? Or what do we do? I don't know if I could, a half-time position over at the center is going to be hard to find anybody to do that.
So why aren't you getting enough funding from the state then, I guess?
That's a good question. I mean, we put the request in all the time to get additional funding to move my staff from 11 to 12 months. We put requests in, but we have not been funded completely for these positions. So, we've used S&A funding for 10 or 12 years to support the people on the west side.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? Yes.
What is exploratory?
Exploratory, they work with students who are undecided strictly on the Ellensburg campus. So they work with usually your first year students, sophomores, through the process of declaring their major. Once they declare their major, then they come over to my staff. At the centers, all the students come in basically declared. I mean, we only have a handful of programs. These are all students who are in their junior and senior year. Most of them come in from the community college with a transfer associate degree. So they are virtually all transfer students. You have a larger share who are older, not traditional students at the centers. And you would think that they wouldn't be as needy as maybe the first year students are, but they are. So it is, essential for us to provide them support in the advising process.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, can you remind me again how many students are served by the counselors on the west side centers?
We have 950 students who are on, and I say on ground because they're in the on-ground majors there. But then we do have a group who are online students who actually use the services at the center, and I'm saying that's about 100 to 150 students. So we're a little over 1,000 students, between 1,000 and 1,100 that we're supporting.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My next now.
Administrative support.
I know. So excited.
All right, moving on to base funding request presentation for administrative support costs.
Yeah, you want to sit here? Okay, so I'm wearing like 3 hats tonight, and I only have one head. I usually sit over here. Many of you know me from these meetings, but I don't know if I've ever explained what it is that I do at the university or why I'm even here. I work in the accounting and finance part of the university, not teaching it, doing it. And I've worked here about 20 years doing a little more than that, doing that kind of stuff. So tonight, since Dora has left, I've been sitting here, and it also fell to me to come in and explain the administrative support costs or the administrative fee that the university asks S&A to pay every year. And in a nutshell, what that is are services that S&A doesn't have already on their funding roster that the university provides. So let me give you a little example. S&A pays for a certain accounting office, right? So we don't ask S&A to pay for general accounting because they have their own. But S&A doesn't have its own human resources department or its own payroll department. And this topic, as a concept, is only 6 or 7 years that the university's been doing this. And it frankly didn't go very well first time through. I'll get to that in a minute. Hoping it goes a little better this time. So last time when they came in for base funding, the base funding was $448,000. I have new handouts. Did you pass those around? And this is the wording out of the deliberations from the committee on why they decided to fund it. It's an adjusted base figure based on the outcome of the state auditor's assessment and review of the administrative support costs. The state auditor's office sent 3 auditors to be in an office directly below mine for an entire month that year. That was They sure reviewed it. So we know that the S&AP cannot be used for general university overhead and must be tied to a service provided to S&A. And over time, and through, I guess, some negotiations, the university and the committee have kind of agreed on these departments here and these allocation methods. I don't know that I think they're the best ones, but they're the ones that have been agreed on and been reviewed. So I put it together in the same format as it's been before. And I think I just fairly quickly, I want to talk about what some of these departments do. These are kind of the main areas that S&A is asked to pay to reimburse the university for services. The accounts payable and travel, all of the supplemental fundings, and a lot of the Club Senate stuff goes for travel. And the university has a person, actually it was Haley until about a week ago, that does the travel stuff. It takes effort to do that. And S&A works out to 4.47% of the whole university's travel. Travel desk costs $177,000 a year. So we're asking for 4.47% of that. It's on the sheet. Human resources actually costs the whole entire university $2.2 million, and using the method here of number of personnel action forms to total university personnel action forms, it works out to 10.53. And I think everyone kind of has a concept of what human. I have an hour for this, right? IT, they do things like all the software, PeopleSoft, they do make sure the internet stuff works. S&A's percentage based on counting up is 2%. Payroll is 4%. They mail you your W-2 at the end of the year. If you work there, you go in and you give them your checking account and they make sure you get paid. Purchasing, when we go through the process and say there's funding for a speaker to come to campus, there's actually kind of a lot of work that has to go on with the contract to get some of these speakers to come here. And using the allocation method, 7%. Student financial services is actually, this is called the cashier's office, and by the method they asked is 4.47. So how do we know, we being the university, know that this fits the rules of S&A and what's kind of transpired over time? I think this might be more interesting for you. We know the rules because we looked them up and we tried to make sure we were doing the right stuff. So you guys have all been through the S&A training, and it's the RCWs, and it talks about the express purpose of funding student activities. It's in the legislative intent that the students propose to the administration, right? So that's why we're not quite handing you a bill. And the students are given a strong voice in this. This is actually the text of the main RCW. I won't read that for you, but down here, there's one on 7. There's a dispute resolution committee. This actually went to that a couple of times last time. The Killian outline, you guys are familiar with that too, another interpretation of what S&A can be used for. For use of S&A fees, we must ask whether it is for student activity within the scope of authority, state statute. So here's how also we know this, how that's supposed to work. This is actually the front page of the Seattle Times in 2013. This committee and this process and this topic was on the front page of the Seattle Times. And it was on the front page of the Daily Record in November, so that's 5 months of news coverage. This one's from the Yakima Herald State auditor questions, CWU's use of fee, disputed. The audit result was wrongly used. That's the part where I say it didn't go so well last time. This is kind of when it all started, December. This memo went through and said we're going to do $571,000. And that pretty quickly led to a letter from the elected state auditor, Troy Kelly, at that time, writing to President Gagino about this topic. And then there were a whole bunch of back and forths and more auditors. And you guys, the elected state auditor, Troy Kelly, is no longer the elected state auditor. Kind of fun fact. A couple months later, he was under federal indictment for tax evasion and perjury. Anyway, he's not the auditor anymore, but that did happen. So, you know, we've gone through a bunch of reviews. This is kind of the main thing that I could go off of to say what is kind of right. And this is Alan Smith, that is our Assistant Attorney General. And it's his formulation of the legal test to be applied. I mean, he's got, you know, administrative costs may be allocated to the S&A fees budget to the extent that such costs are directly related to you and allocated for the express purpose of supporting and providing stability for an operation program, blah, blah, blah. And then the standard legal disclaimer, I caution that this test has not been adopted by any court or by the state auditor's office, but it's his best effort, right? If I can go over to, this is what the list looked like before dispute resolution. They had for academic affairs, 17,000 was going to be allocated to S&A. I don't know if that seems directly to S&A. What was worse was, well, I shouldn't say worse. What was more questioned, money for maintaining the president's house, fire protection, grounds, faculty relations. These got kicked out through the initial review of the state auditor's office. And this is how they came up with 571. Even that didn't quite work through the process. They said it has to be directly related, and through all of the process then that's gone on for a few years, we've ended up with these things that have at least held water in the arguments. So I went through and I had to go behind all of this. I had to go for each calculation, find out how many voucher lines were for the 522 fund, and I have a list of all of them. Right? You have to kind of know how to read this. The reason I'm mentioning this is because Pat's pretty sure that he's going to have to hand this over to the state auditor's office pretty soon. And here was another old email. The approved, the last time this went through at $674,000, it was approved at the dispute resolution meeting in May of 2012. But they forgot that the dispute resolution meeting was not held in a open public meeting. Really, this didn't go so well. Anyway, why am I mentioning all that? Well, probably because Pat does not want to be on the front page of the Seattle Times for this. If it was for something awesome. The university back then, the administration of the university was not of one mind on how this all worked. There were dissenting voices that said, hey, we're pretty sure there's some rules you have to follow. But the university is a big machine, and it lumbered forward, right? And it tried to do what the university is good at doing, some math and charging and stuff. I think that going through all that, the university is in a better spot to explain that this does meet the rules, that it is defendable, and that it makes some sense, right? I also wanted to mention, if I have a little bit more time.
Yes.
There are 1 minute. I moved for. I'll try to do it really quick. There are other things that the university does that benefit the S&A committee that there's no fee for, right? This funny book here, this is the actual purchase sale agreement for the $64 million worth of bonds that built this building. And this is in the form of a contract between the board of trustees and the bondholders, right? I think I worked about 400 hours on this, and there's no fee, right? It also was my job, right? And it's pretty interesting. It's from May 2004. Lehman Brothers were the underwriter. Do you remember anything about Lehman Brothers? Moody's, the rating agency, was testifying before Congress 4 years later. Moody's was underwater, and FGIC, anyway, that doesn't relate to us, but it was an exciting period. Subsequent to that, we refinanced that $60 million in debt in 2015. I'm an accountant, so I really love me some charts and graphs, right? And when we did that this year, the payments that the rec center and union had to pay dropped by $500,000 a year for the next 20 years. So it's $10 million, right? Kind of like if you refinance your house, it's just a $60 million house, right? And that felt good. I mean, again, that was kind of just my job, right? But it takes pressure off of the need to raise the rec center fee or the union fee. Doesn't mean those won't have to go up, but it feels like we did something good for the university or for the students. This one we're going to need to talk to you about fairly soon. Monday. There's another thing coming that I didn't roll any of this past Joey. But there's another thing coming that we've been working on for the last 6 or 8 months that I think is probably going to result in more money available, possibly, and I can't say the amount, towards these kind of supplemental things or base funding things. Now that I've distracted you, if there are any questions about why we think these might be okay, what's going to happen next is I'd love to field any questions you have tonight. Of course, there will be deliberations, and specifically on this topic. I will abstain from voting. I might even leave the room if you guys want, or I could stay and try to explain. And you guys can choose if you want to fund this or not. But to the extent that this has been worked into the rest of the university's budget, there's enough pressure that it might end up in that dispute resolution process. It's just something to, don't take it lightly, is what I'm saying. So, any questions? Yes.
So from that giant list, that was $571,000 that was on the.
Yeah, we've shaved this thing way down.
So this is your list of 7 items now?
Yeah, and if you look in the book from the one before, there are a bunch that are grayed out, that we just kind of threw out and said, you know. There were a couple that were, the numbers are missing, but they worked out to like $1,200 a year to find out about, like, I think it was like how many keys to the building. I don't want to go find out how many keys to get $1,200, and we don't really need $1,200, right? So we boiled it down to the ones that we felt made the most sense, that were measurable, and most directly related to actual services provided.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody want to hear an accounting here?
One more question before your joke.
Yeah.
What's the difference between your third and fourth item? Third and fourth.
Yeah, and they're both based off of the same calculation. It's because there are two different work groups in IT. And so actually in my slide, when I showed it, I put the amount together. There's the same measurement calculation, which is number of non-student S&A employees to total university employees. But there's two groups working over in IT, and those are the costs to run. They're separate. One's more like hardware and one's more like applications. Did I get that kind of?
What's hardware and software?
Thank you.
Well, think about it. If you have more questions, I'll be around Monday.
Did we get to hear that joke?
I'll save it for Monday.
Okay.
I don't want whoever's coming after me to have to follow it.
Yeah. All right, I would like to entertain a motion to have a 5-minute recess. Luke moves, Dr. Finney seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We'll resume this meeting at 6:55.
What are you doing here? Oh. Oh, that's right.
Career services.
Yeah, I don't know anything. Yeah. So here's, so I've got like 3 or 4 and the other one Canada. And then I got my right there. Yeah. We'll get through it.
Oh, no, I.
Yes. I was gonna have Vicky in them, but yeah, we'll try and call them now.
Okay, oh, I did that. Okay, okay, I thought she was down in that frame. No. So I present the work.
By the time you explain all that. But
It's been a few years since you had to do that.
I actually lived that one.
I know you did.
I walk over and try to get them.
You know firsthand how that whole.
Crushed it.
Like anything I can do to avoid with conflict resolution. But yeah.
I think it worked out to be, and when I see it here,
Yeah.
it's way fair.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just
The idea would be
Fast more than the original because it was actually.
program,
It was brief.
president conference, you gotta get, I mean, like, even the fact that it's like, look,
so what it did.
Yeah.
this is a joke.
I mean, I think she's that's included in admin fee for everyone else, but that's a whole other.
Hello? Hi, is this Meredith? Yeah, this is. Hey, this is Renee with the S&A committee. We're at recess right now, but I wanted to get you and Angie on the phone before you restarted, okay? Okay, sure. Okay, I'm gonna try to conference Angie and hold on just a second.
A lot of them. Said, well, when you get a date, I don't know how you receive it.
Hi, this is Angie Engel. Hey, Angie, this is Renee from the S&A committee, and I think we conferenced you and Meredith. Are you both there? Yep, I'm here. Really here. And Angie? Okay, great. We're at recess right now, but we'll resume pretty soon, and then Vicky's gonna present, so just sit back and listen, I guess.
And some of them
Okay.
similar because we call me directly on the group, so that we can see that the real challenge. Because I brought something on basis. This is all written out right now. And I have some of them, all the observer polls.
Monday, we're probably gonna do box lunches. There's a whole bunch of choices, from wraps, salads, sandwiches, because we have less than 16 people, we only get 2 choices. So I'm gonna send out a list, everybody's gonna see an email, and just kind of.
Is there vegetarian options?
There are, and I think that those won't count with our 2.
Oh.
So if you say you're a vegetarian, then I think we can get a vegetarian.
What is the question, you know, when the recess group stops, when is it,
We've got about 2 more minutes.
okay.
Yep. Vicky, I already called them, they're on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I got them both, yeah.
Which is always.
They get that.
That is fun, right?
This is the first one, not the next, it's the next one.
Oh, is it?
Really?
That's okay.
Julie told me to call them.
That's okay, they can wait.
Career services.
Well,
They can wait.
we called them during the break, so they're at least here. Yeah.
Which I already.
Yeah.
Must have.
They can hear the first part.
No, there it is. How are your kids all doing?
We're on planes next week. Actually, they're filming it tomorrow. They're going to film direct rehearsal. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He's excited. Because then after that, last week, Thursday, Friday, he's very excited.
Okay. Actually,
Question for you, actually. You mean that you, I printed out all the information I have to put it correct, but, did you want to meet up with
But like, honestly, it's really hard for me. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many things to memorize. I'm so bad at making
There's also, because, I was gonna say, when do you usually stay, or is your office? When do you usually stay until?
I'm normally there unless I do get the kids work. I mean, it's not today.
You did. Who are you? In the class? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
You know about your availability this Friday
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, but it's the same girl. The next and the other one.
So Friday, yeah.
Well, spring breakers are Friday.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have anything.
I would honestly try to do this one, but it's in 7 days and it's.
Where is it? We got 4 presentations.
Somewhere here. Where did you say it was?
I'd like to, I'd like to call this meeting back to order at 6:57. Moving on to base funding request presentation for Career Services Peer Advisor Program.
Hello, I'm Kyoko Cleveland from Career Services. I'm here to request the funding for the Peer Advisor Program so we can continue to have our program for the department.
So when people find out that I work for career services and work with peer advisors, I get this, well, what are they? What do they do? So I want to start with that. There's a lot of different definitions, but I thought this kind of catches the essence of it. Peer advising is an educational process in which students are intentionally connected with other students to support learning and success. So our peer advisor program, the connection may not be as intentional as formal mentoring, but we still see that our students, peer advisors, can and do serve as role models to a larger student body. They also serve as a sort of a bridge to the services that the department provides, so and are just more available to students. So talk a little bit about what they do. They really develop professional skills by learning how to market and promote the department and programs. And they also do a lot of presentations and workshops. And when they do take on those tasks, they learn how to take leadership, and they're learning some of the skills that's really useful in just their life out after college, and that other students can see that as well. This is probably what they're known for. They do review resume cover letters. One of our peers are trained to do mock interviews. They are also available to show students how to use the database that we have for jobs and internships. Also, they evaluate career services programs because they are the students on campus. We ask them for input because they know what students' needs are, and we keep improving our programs, and that means sometimes adding a new program, modifying the existing program, although we change the way we deliver services. This program has been around since 2006, and about 30 peers have gone through the program and helping other students on campus. So how do we decide what program and service to offer? We definitely get the input from our peers, but it depends on student demand, and the way we assess that is our peer advisors are asked to keep track of the number of students they have a contact with and for what purpose. So that gives us the specific numbers of how many students they are seeing and what the needs are in general. We also take peer advisor suggestions. One of the examples would be last year, one of the peers came up saying, you know what, I don't think students really know how to dress for interviews. So then I said, well, let's come up with something. The peer advisor team came up with a workshop, Dress for Success, which now we offer every quarter for, that's open to all the students. And we get positive feedback from the students that attend. And after each workshop, we do evaluations, and that helps us assess how it went and what change that needs to be made to be able to serve our students better. So they don't just sit around at the office, they go out to reach out to more students. One of the ways to do it is by going to the library of the Academic and Research Commons. They're right by tutors. They're just available to do a drop-in. Some students don't quite make it to this end of campus, but maybe they're at the library. So they are able to just drop in to get their documents reviewed. And our peers are usually there 3 to 4 days a week, different times in the day. Housing and new student programs. They work with RAs. They meet with RAs and talk about what programming they're looking for. They come up with different presentations, and then our peer advisors go to the residence hall to do a presentation. So that's another way to connect with more students that may not come into our office. They're part of our new student orientation in the summertime, so that they can talk to incoming students and parents as well. We get a lot of requests from clubs and different departments to do presentations. Sometimes we can ask peers to come along and help with the presentation as well. So they're in the office part of the time, but they go out a lot to engage with other students. And the program supports the university goal by them learning how to help with the documents, review, and interview skills, things like that. They can contribute positively to the placement rates. Also, they can, by tabling, doing presentations, and engaging with students' body out on campus, they are promoting so that more students are aware of our services and we can increase the use of our services. So I'll just touch on the programming focus that I have for the program right now. The first one is the services. As I mentioned, they reviewed lots of documents. They help with the interview prep, things like that. And every quarter, generally, they have more than 10 hours of drop-in. So students don't need to schedule appointments. We have a set schedule every quarter for different times in each day. So the students can just drop in to get things done. They're also able to take pictures for LinkedIn profile, things like that as well. Coordinating with staff on project is something that I started and I really want to develop with the peers. I ask each peer, what are your strengths and what do you enjoy doing? What do you want to challenge yourself with? Because we truly believe that each student comes with unique strengths and we want to utilize that. So based on their answers, I match them with the different staff working on different kind of projects so that they can collaborate together. The peers are able to kind of see how things are done and project management, I guess. But also we get valuable input from the students saying, this doesn't really make sense, or maybe this, but if we do it a certain way, maybe it makes more sense to students and be useful. So definitely get valuable input. As I said, they do tabling and do a presentation. That's part of marketing. They are really focusing right now on really social media piece because we know that's what a lot of students use. And why not ask the expert to help us with that piece? Training is one because they do review documents and help with the skills building for other students. We do take time to train our peer advisors to make sure that they are delivering quality services. So here's the budget that I am requesting to be able to continue the program and have a team of 4 peers. This is the amount that I have requested. Their starting wage actually is $11 right now, but the budget is based on increasing minimum wage and the annual raise that they will receive. Goods and services are mostly for the cost supplies they need for their workshops or training that when they are starting and continued training that they are receiving. So while I was getting this presentation ready, without them seeing, I have asked the peers, current peers and the past peers that's already graduated, how does peer advisor program benefit students in general? And I got very similar answers, and I hope you'll be able to see what they have said. But really what I got is the peer advisors can really help connect students to services that we have. Also, for some students, career services can seem intimidating, but having the students as first contact person, that can help students feel at ease, and then hopefully we can really serve the students in general. So, well, that's all I have. So I'm ready to take your questions. Yes.
How do you match your students up with their peers? Like,
so it's not, as I said, it's not as an intentional match, but because they do a lot of things that our department offers. Students usually drop in, and sometimes they are meeting with, and it really just happens. Because a lot of our peer advisors are juniors and seniors that are already in majors. So then some undeclared students might have some questions that peers can answer. Or sometimes we have a peer that's a nutrition major, and nutrition, some class will send students for resume review. And then they can really help, like, here's something maybe you can do to kind of really improve your documents, things like that. A lot of times it's really just a one-time thing, but sometimes students come back and then continue to work with peers.
Are there currently 4 right now, peer advisors?
They are.
In the same structure that's here with the senior or the peer advisor?
Yes, we have. Actually, we're down to Okay, we're down to 3 because one is doing an internship this quarter. She's returning next quarter, so yeah.
And then do they work throughout the whole year or just during the academic year?
This is typically just for the academic year because we have a decreased demand during the summer, but last year we were able to use a peer that was around because we needed somebody, we wanted someone to come to the orientation and just get ready for the next year. Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to based on your request presentation for Career Services West Side Counselor.
Okay, great. So I'm Vicki Snudo. I'm the Director of Career Services, and hopefully on the phone are Mary Urinek, who's our counselor at Linwood, and Angie Engel, who's our counselor at the Des Moines campus. So I have a handout, so if you wouldn't mind that, just passing that around for your reading pleasure. Why do students go to university? Hopefully to get a good job or a career, right? So I wanted to show you your return on investment. So it costs a lot to go to university, and by the time a student graduates in 4 years, it's going to cost a lot of money. 86% of students say to come to university to get a better career, a better job, right? And some students do not finish in 4 years, so it costs even more than that. Some students change their majors, and that's a lot about what Career Services is about, helping students figure out what they're good at and what their major should be. In 2015, students took a survey on the West Side, and almost 60% said that one of the things they needed most was career preparation. So that's what we're about. So I'm not sure if any of you have been to our offices in Bullion, but we provide these 4 things. Career counseling, so just like it sounds, helping students figure out through counseling and assessments what they're good at. Cooperative education and internships. We are the people that coordinate all the academic internships on campus and help students find jobs as well. Career employment. So we teach a University 301 class called Career Management that I'm going to talk a little bit more about. We also do classroom presentations to help students learn about resumes and cover letters and interviewing. We run workshops. We help students get into graduate school. And we do a lot of events, field trips, and boot camps, which I'll also talk some more about. All our services are free to students, and even after they graduate. So there's Mary. She's at the Linwood campus, like I said, for 10 months, part-time. And Angie's at the Des Moines campus. She's on 12-month career counselor. So they serve basically the north and the south sides of the state. So they provide all of these services to students by themselves. On our campus here, we have various other staff who provide some of these students' services, but they're doing it independently on their own. So I just wanted to show you, these are some of the employers that they've brought to campus or had contact with through our events and panels and things like that. So there's some big names there, right? They have access to some great employers on the west side. How do we decide what kind of programming? How do they decide? So by demand, so faculty will come and say, we want you to do X. Mary or Angie does their best to make that happen. Through participation, we can make judgments about what kinds of things we want to offer. It's also guided by what majors are being offered on the west side. They talk to lots of people, students, faculty, grads, employers especially. We do goals as a team, so we know what we want to offer. And we survey people. They talk to students and clubs. And they also survey people after all of the events so that we have a pretty good idea of what we want to bring to the West Side campuses.
So this is something that employers are saying about Central students, because this is from direct feedback that we got from surveys. So Central students need interviewing skills, resume writing, knowledge of industry and jobs, genuine interest in careers, and meaningful internships. So they need a lot of help, and that's what Angie and Meredith are there to do. And how do they do it? So workshops, I talked a little bit about it. Here are some of the workshops that they did. And job search strategies, LinkedIn, how to get into grad school, dependable strengths, which is a really awesome experience to help students find out what their strengths are. Here's some of the events that they participated and coordinated at their different centers. So upcoming pretty soon is the Edmonds Community College Fair and Highline, College Business Fair, all sorts of fairs, right, that they've helped to coordinate. Here's a picture of Meredith helping students, or she coordinated this event for the accounting students to get them prepared for the accounting career event at the Des Moines campus, but she was doing it at the Linwood campus. At this event, she helped work with ITAM and with the Edmonds Community College to get employers to come to a live resume event, which was really successful. We're doing that again. Angie helped coordinate, she coordinated bringing this speaker to the Des Moines campus. This guy wrote the book, 50 Jobs in 50 States. So she brought him for students to listen to. These are some of the employers that participated in the accounting boot camp that Angie helped coordinate. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. This is Angie and Dr. Ken Smith from the accounting department modeling the appropriate business wear. I'm not sure Ken has that quite right, but that was for their boot camp. These are students who are also on the boot camp tour at the Washington State Legislature building. So there's a lot of different kinds of boot camps that go on the west side. Beyond the office, they are also giving classroom presentations to various classes. So at the Linwood Leadership Group, accounting classes, the English classes, technical writing class. They're also doing outreach, so taking students on a field trip to Google, using Flight, Tableau, and also participating in partnerships with new student orientations, the grad finale event, they also work that event. So they're very busy with what's going on at the centers. University 301 class. So this is a class that Mary teaches at the Linwood campus, and Angie used to teach at the Des Moines. I'll tell you more about that. But it's to help students get ready to go to work, basically. So job search strategies, how to present themselves, resumes and cover letters. And I just want to read one of the bottom of this quote to you from a student. It says, in general classes, you learn knowledge about a certain subject, but you never learn practical things such as how to behave in an interview, write a cover letter, negotiate salary, etc. In Mary's class, you learn all these things, which is very useful. I gave you some more quotes on that handout. So Angie's 301 class that she used to teach, her curriculum was used by the College of Business to create their Business 301 class, which is now mandatory for College of Business students to take. So that's what happened to her class. Connecting, I wanted to show you kind of how we've been using the funding, because we've had it for several years. So these are some recent statistics. Things went down, and now they're kind of going back up in terms of how many students they see. You can see just in the 2015-2016, they served 4,514 students. Enrollment at the centers has gone down, and that's why we think it's dropped a little bit. But the other thing that's happening, more online students. So now they're serving online students as well that are designated to those centers, if that makes sense. Why more money? So that, our last request, we got and received $134,000. We're asking for more money, this is true, to upgrade their positions to reflect what they actually do, because they're working, although they work independently, they're still connected to our team, but like I said, they're doing a lot of different tasks than just the career counselors here at the Allenstown campus. So we also want them to reflect that they're serving the centers and working independently, and so they actually help students with a lot of other questions that they have because there's not a lot of staff at those centers. So, and also our costs are increasing. Salaries went up, benefits went up, and so we've actually had to dip into some of the savings in our budget in order to meet the increase in cost. So that's why I gave you a copy on your handout of this little budget, because you can see these are actual costs that for salaries and benefits. The $12,000 that we asked for goods and services is not included in those totals there. So this year, I know our costs are going to be $141,457 in salaries and benefits alone. So we are dipping into our carryover funds. So even if we do not get what we're asking for, we absolutely need to meet the salaries and benefits, and would love to have some goods and service money on top of that. And goods and services, I forgot to mention, we also hire peer advisors. So every year, pretty much, we've had a peer advisor at one or the other centers, and we'd love to expand that to more students, just like the program that Kyoko talked about. So it would be awesome if we could have that additional funding to hire more students to help with programming and events and things like that. So one other thing I forgot to mention, college business fair, the supply chain management fair, the boot camps, Angie and Mary are instrumental in making those happen and have made those happen. Last year, College of Business Fair had 200 students at it, and the accounting career event that we had in the fall, 100 students. So I think these events are just going to continue to grow and have more students attached to them. So any questions? And remember, we have them on the phone if you have questions for them as well.
Did you have a question? So what, especially on this side here, what are these salary increases and benefits based solely on the cost of living increases that have gone in?
Yes.
And then the change in the benefits calculations?
Yes, there was one small increase they received, which was, I think it was just at the beginning of in April 2015, they got a slight increase in salaries, and then the cost of living came through as well. It was about 2%. So that's why it went up so much. And salaries are, as Scott said earlier, highly competitive on the west side. So we're just trying to keep the cost of living equitable for the staff that we have. Mary and Angie have a lot of experience, and we're really lucky to have them. We'd really like to keep them, especially if we get to keep this program, because they do such a great job. And we have lots of positive feedback from faculty and the students to support that, because they see a lot of people. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take this with me. So, let them go.
Yeah.
Bye, Angie. Bye, Mary.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to base funding request presentation for the International Office of Student Services.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
You can drive.
Oh, that was cool. Oh.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully everybody's still awake. I know it's a long night, so hang in there just a little bit longer. My name is Nikki Kukar, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of International Students and Programs, and I'm also the Director of the AUAP program. And this is Sherry Fujita, and she is the Director of our English as a Second Language program. And so we'd like to start off by telling you a little bit about the Office of International Studies and Programs. From here on, it will be referred to as OISP, which is a very nice little nickname. These are some of the things that our office is responsible for. We do all of the immigration advising and support for international students. We do academic advising for international students and American students who seek to study abroad or work abroad and have an international internship. As I mentioned, we have 2 English language programs, so we do English language training for international students. We also have international partnerships with different universities around the world. And last but not least, we provide programming, specific activities for international students and domestic students. And our intention is to have our students become an integral part of campus. So why are we here? Overview of our rationale for our funding request. OISP is the only office on campus that offers programs specifically for our international students. And as I mentioned, our main purpose is to try to program for our students, but also to reach out to domestic students and get them involved with our international students. It's also a chance for us to get our international students to feel comfortable to talk and to develop relationships with American students. We encourage cross-cultural communication and intercultural competencies. As you know, it's becoming a global marketplace, so it's very important that domestic students have opportunities to communicate with international students and to learn about different ways of doing things. OISP is a self-support office, and this is important because we are responsible not only for all of the things that I mentioned, but also we are responsible for recruiting international students to Central. And so our office, we have an international student recruiter, and we pay not only her salary, but all of her travel expenses, all of marketing materials that are designed specifically for international students. All of it has to come from our office. And as you know, it's very expensive to recruit any student. It's very expensive to recruit international students. And so retention is a really important thing to keep all students here, but especially all that money that we spend to recruit international students. If they don't feel part of the community, if they don't feel part of Central, it's very easy for them to transfer to a different school, and then all of that money that we've spent trying to get them here is lost. So we really need help in providing specific programs for our international students to help them feel comfortable here and to help them want to stay.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you might not be aware that our students pay all of the fees, all the university fees. Even if they're not matriculated, all of our students do pay fees. We are very much aware of the kind of the core values of Central, and our office hits these different core values. You know, student success. You know, we are here to provide, you know, culturally sensitive information and emotional support, especially for our students. And these days, the political climate isn't so great for a lot of our international students, so our office is the go-to place for that kind of support. You know, we're trying to facilitate engagement. Not just for the international students, but also for the American students on campus. We want you guys to benefit also and learn from the students who come from all of these different countries and what they can teach you. And of course, we're trying to create this inclusive atmosphere on our campus, and this is a functionality of our office and the programming that we do in our office. And finally, you know, it's access. You know, we're providing access for our students, for these international students to our campus. So we are serving almost 500 students from 48 different countries right now. We also service the domestic students who want to study abroad. We help them with that. We work with Central faculty for maybe faculty exchanges or faculty-led study abroad programs. And we work with the Ellensburg community very extensively, with the schools, with the local different organizations in the community. And we also have visiting scholars from different countries around the world. So, you know, our students help to diversify the residence halls. They add varying viewpoints to the classrooms. You know, you can get a classroom discussion and learn about how things are done in Kuwait, or how things might be done in China or in Japan. And we help both develop culturally sensitive skills that you can take into the workplace and leverage later to find a job, because you will be able to demonstrate very clearly that you have experience with international. Is this my favorite? This is your.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
All right.
that's me.
All right, so it's just a summary of our budget, our funding request. As you can see, a lot of it is personnel. As I mentioned, we're a self-support unit. We don't have a lot of staff to do what we would like to be able to do to provide those services for our international students. So we're asking mostly for bodies to help us program. So these are the positions that we'd like to see funded. We'd like to have a student activities programmer who is specifically hired to implement and direct programming that is aimed or tailored to international students. We do have a living learning community. It's called the I-House, the International House. However, we don't have enough support to really make it active and to do the things that we would like to do there. We would also like to have some student ambassadors who help with that program and help, again, get the different student bodies mixing. We also, all international students, this is something new from about 2 years ago, all international students have to have international student health insurance. We have to have somebody who helps explain this to international students, helps them pick out a plan that is right for them. And this is very labor intensive, so we need some support to help manage this program. As I mentioned, our iHouse, we really want help building our themed community to provide in that residence hall so that there are more interactions. And we'd also like to hire 4 international student ambassadors to assist with programming and act as role models for other international and domestic students. So students helping students, I don't know how many of you have studied abroad, but when you're new in a foreign place, if you have somebody that has had a similar experience that can kind of show you the ropes, it's a lot easier. And so we'd like to hire some students to work with first. All right, keep going. All right. So the benefits to the students would be, again, as I keep mentioning, intentional programming. All of our students do pay S&A fees. However, a lot of our students don't get involved with campus activities the way that most domestic students do on campus. The biggest thing is probably a lot of, like, our Saudi students don't live on campus. They're not in the residence halls. They don't eat in the dining hall based on kind of their own religious, I don't know, just differences. Practices, thank you. So they're not aware of all the things that are happening in the circ, and even if they were, if they saw the poster, they might not understand. So we really need somebody that can do intentional programming for our students. As I mentioned, student leadership opportunities. This is for domestic and international students. It gives them a chance to be leaders in their community. Work experience for international students. It's really hard for international students to get jobs on campus, so if we could hire them, that would be great. Loyalty and connection to Central. As I mentioned, it's hard for international students to come in and feel a part of the campus. We want them to go back to their home countries and feel confident and feel a part of CWU and feel like they are alumni. That's the best way to recruit for us, is to get happy alumni. And then, of course, I think the most important thing is to provide cross-cultural interactions for both international and domestic students.
Okay, so this is, we want to give you some evidence, and recently in the fall quarter we had an international student dinner. We surveyed our students and we found that 96% of them, out of almost 200 students who attended, reported that our programming is insufficient. And this is what, we listed up some of the different things that they wish that we did, and some of the things that we could be doing in our office if we had the funding for them. So you can see a few things here like Seattle trip or movie nights, going to sporting events and hiking and culture nights. And you know, some of those things we do try to do on a shoestring, but we think with this funding we could do a much better job with it. And then also we work with different U.S. Department of State nonprofits and non-government organizations that fund different groups of students. And one of the things they require that we do is provide programming and cultural experiences for their students. So this would also help us meet this U.S. Department of State requirements for these sponsored students. And then just for fun, we thought we'd see how we compared against Western and Eastern, and you can see this is what Central does right now. And you can see that Eastern has a little bit more underneath their name, and Western is really going for it over here. So we're a little bit lagging behind in terms of our competitors. They're doing a little bit more for their international students, and they're leveraging their being on campus to help their domestic students a bit better. The last thing you'll notice is we're asking for some software. It's called Synapsis. We've researched this pretty extensively, and this is the one that we ended up choosing. Right now, we're experiencing death by Excel. We have the Excel spreadsheets for a lot of different things, and it causes a lot of human error, a lot of duplication of effort. It's very, very primitive for what we're trying to do in our office, and we have federal reporting requirements for their visa types, and we have other reporting requirements, for example, health insurance. This software would help us so much, help the students be in compliance with their visa and to have a better experience on the campus. So we'd like you to also consider helping us out with the Synapsis software. And that's all we got. These pictures were taken from an event we had in our building recently, right after the executive order that related to the 7 Muslim majority countries. So we did a "You Are Welcome Here" event in our office, and we invited the campus and the community and students to come to their office and write messages of support to our international students to make them feel welcome and safe on our campus. It was a really great event. So we're here to take your questions.
Hopefully we haven't bored you to death.
I know.
Yes.
Quick question. So you mentioned that you would be hiring international students. How does that work with their visa status? Are they able to work just for the university?
Yes, they can work on campus.
Okay.
They cannot work off campus.
Yeah. So that's why it's really hard for them to get work, because yeah, it's pretty much the dining hall.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Yes. Do you have any student ambassadors right now?
For the general office, no. We have two that work in the front office. They don't really work with students. And then like the AUAP program, we hire international peer advisors that live in the residence halls, but not to do specific programming for all international students. So.
Do you guys reach out to athletics at all for your international students?
Meaning?
Like trying to get them engaged with you guys?
Yes and no. A lot of the athletes are really busy, but we do have a lot of international students that are athletes. And we do have some, like the soccer team, like they'll have like not a practice game, but scrimmages and stuff with our international students. Like the Saudi students have a really active soccer team, so they'll do scrimmages and things like that.
That's really good.
Yeah, and we do, I think we put in there for some, excuse me, some funding for International Cafe. And this is an event that we started 2 years ago. And we have it about 2 or 3 times a quarter. And this is a way that we've been able to reach out to other clubs and other departments on campus. And we, when we started it, we sponsored it every time. And then we got the idea to start working with different classes and different clubs on campus. And they kind of take the leadership role and they plan it, they choose a theme, and then their club members or their class kind of put on the event. And one of our most popular events was last month. We had the Saudi Student Association put it on, and that was a great way for the, oh my God, gosh. Sorry. I didn't want to kick your glass, but now, gosh. But anyway, it was a great way for them to get involved and share their culture. We actually have another one tomorrow, and it's being put on by Rec and Tourism. And we have thought about reaching out to different athletic teams to have them sponsor an international cafe. But we've worked with all sorts of different clubs. We're trying to work with the fashion club, communication classes. It's a great way to get students involved. So that's what the international cafe is. And if you haven't been to one, please come. Come tomorrow. They're great. Yeah, tomorrow.
I know you said the programming for the programmer is specifically going to be geared towards and targeted the students in the program. Is it going to be open to more students than that, or just the students in the international programs?
Everything. Yes.
Yeah, that's our, we want to break, they're in a ghetto now. It's kind of like an international ghetto. We want to connect them more to the rest of the
Yeah, everything we do is to integrate international students. We wouldn't do this kind of programming. Our programming is like this. So even in the International House, our main emphasis is to get the international students talking to domestic students. Every activity that we have is open to international students. But with the focus, helping build those bridges for the international students to give them confidence to have communication with these country students. Thank you for asking. Anything else?
Or meeting pictures, right? One of
Yes.
those guys was my conversation partner.
That's me. He did.
Oh, yeah.
Back, he got done.
Back up. That guy in the top right? Yeah. He's come over and watch Star Wars movies. And he goes, I'm actually going to see him in Tokyo in June.
Oh, good.
See, that's exactly what we want to do. That's really good.
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, I hope you get to.
Moving on to our last presentation of the night, based on the request presentation for the theater arts.
I think everybody who's been in the meeting up here has had their chair fall apart. And so I was a member of the S&A committee for 8 years. I think that the best thing about the quadrennial request is being done. So good luck next week. I'm glad I don't have to be here for that. Thank you very much. And I want to put a plug in for the administrative fee. It is so much better presented to you than it was 4 years ago. It was hell on wheels for a while there. So good job. So I really want to talk about the 4 things that we're asking for support for the theater arts department. We actually are looking for continuing the student employment that we have in the department, continuing the reduced ticket prices for all the students on campus to come to our productions, continuing the opportunities for us to present our career development, and also presenting the creative scholarship presentation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Went really, really well, and continuing recognition for the students that are in those programs. You might not know this, but we have a production wing that is a co-curricular piece of the department that sponsors all the shows that we do. So they're really kind of outside of the academic realm of the department in what we call Central Theater Ensemble. In that, we have we're looking for funding to continue the student employment. These are great opportunities for our students to continue their professional development in the careers that they're looking for. We do actually hire more than just theater students if they have the skills. It's very common for us to have somebody from the management program, the engineering program, to be down working in our shops. But you can imagine that you know how hard it is to find a job in Ellensburg. You can imagine how hard it is for somebody who wants to advance their job skills in the theater industry in Ellensburg if we weren't able to do it here on campus. It's a little bit different than being in somewhere like Seattle, where you could actually get a part-time job in a theater. And so it's really beneficial for our students to be able to do that. You can see the number of students that we employ in the different areas: the scenic, costume, lighting, sound shops, marketing area, and we have students working in the front office with us to support some of that. Each year, we see several hundred students come to see our productions. We actually have a formula that charges back to the S&A program so that we can put money back into our productions because of revenue that we lose by giving you a discount for the services that we get from you. We actually give back that discounted ticket. Last year, we sold 1,656 tickets to CWU students, and that year we charged back $11,000, about $600, which basically means the S&A money that you give us, we turn around and make it an adult ticket to supplement what goes on. The university doesn't give the department any funding for productions. It's all self-generated out of ticketing. So if we don't get it from a ticket, we don't have it. We're looking again for that continued scholarship support, and thank you again for the support you gave us this last couple of months. It is very beneficial. The students actually said this was the best conference they've been to in the last couple of years, so we're really excited that we were able to take this number of students. For the last few years, we've been very successful in sending students on to other events because of this thing. This year, we actually are sending 2 students in the theater management and diversity training programs through the Kennedy Center. When we say they're moving on and they take first place, they actually go to the festival in Washington, D.C. in April. And you'll be happy to know we will not be coming back and seeing you because the Kennedy Center takes care of all their expenses.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. In the 15, 16 years I've been here, I think there's only been 2 years that we haven't sent somebody to the Kennedy Center from CWU. So we're really proud of our students and the work that they do. And it's always, as you can see, a lot of different kinds of things that they're excelling in. And last year was the first time they had a musical theater audition that was going to the Kennedy Center. It was actually spearheaded in our region, partly because of programming like there is at CWU in the musical theater area. And we've been very successful there. Last year we sent the first place winner to the Kennedy Center, and this year we were second place, but doing really well. We also want to make sure that we recognize these students. We usually give around 35 awards to students who are excelling in the different areas within the department, and also in service areas that are related to what goes on. And we also have 3 department scholarships that we award during that event. I'm not going to bore you anymore. I'm going to ask you any questions because it's the end of the very end of the day. I do have one thing that I want to add. Joy's going to ask me about it. I can see him already pointing his finger. I've submitted an amended version of this because of things that Pat talked about a little bit. Sometimes we find out that there are different kinds of regulations and rules that we have to follow. We have discovered that because the way we have been funding our students, we're no longer able to put them into a class and charge a fee, which we then allow the students to bank into their financial aid. We can't do that and receive S&A funding. And we can't charge them enough on their financial aid to go to the festival if we don't have S&A funding. So what you'll see in the amended version is a $15,000 increase so that we can continue to send the students to the festivals. Usually around 50 students will go each year. And so we've increased that budget by $15,000 to be able to make that difference out. What else we need to tell them? We've been doing it this way for, what, 12 years, and it's changing.
So the co-curricular ensemble, what does co-curricular mean?
It really, what it amounts to is the Central Theater Ensemble is where they actually put into professional practice the things they're learning and doing in a classroom. So it's very directly related, but it's not necessarily class, right? It's more integrated. It's integrated more into what the professional practice would be. So you learn how to be an actor in class. You get cast in the show with Central Theater Ensemble. Right.
For the travel, is that that just for conferences, or do you guys perform other places, or?
We don't, it's strictly for conference. Yeah. I don't know how you're dealing with salaries. We erred on the high side of salaries because during this quadrennial, they're gonna be $15. So we actually put down that our salaries are 14, but we're actually only paying people 11 to 11.50 right now. But when I was here, you just automatically gave us extra money when minimum wage went up. And I understand that you're going to be looking at how you're going to attack that moving forward, and it's a huge problem. For so many of the other areas, since I've been on the committee, I kind of know a little bit about this. The actual salary increases for students is almost negligible in their budgets. Ours, because of the amount of money we ask for student salaries, it's about 80% of what we spend. So when salaries go up for student minimum wage, it really impacts what happens with us. So.
No one else has questions.
Any further questions?
They know if they don't ask, they can go home.
The only other piece, just to add on that, just for clarification, so the student positions you have, I know the $14 you have on the list is kind of the average, because we know, those that aren't aware, there are upcoming minimum wage increases already. Thank you, scheduled. So these are the same positions you already currently have.
Right, that's these positions, and you're going to see that we're only asking for 3 positions because that's 3 20-hour positions per week. But we actually employ 20 kids because they're all part-time of that. But does that make sense? So they're all working bits and pieces. Like some will be working at the, for the different things that happen through McConnell Auditorium. Some work in the scene shop, some work in the costume shop, but they all are kind of part-timers of that 20. But we can't really say that there's a 0.6 person because the formula doesn't work that way. They want a whole number. So we have to say equivalent students. So that's what you see there, even though we have lots of students involved.
Any further questions? Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Moving on to section 9, other business communications received. You haven't received any communications?
The only, probably should put this over the advisory report, but did not, because I forgot. The only other piece, again, as a reminder, S&A committee reports up through the Dean of Students. For those who are unaware, there's been a change in the leadership to where Dean Sarah Swager is no longer in that role, and we have an interim Dean, Richard DeShields, for the rest of this year. So just so you all are aware of that.
Thank you. Moving on to section 10, public comment, second call. Is there any public comment at this time, Trey?
Yeah, so Joey, I was just wondering if would make quorum for the meeting on Monday without
That's any question.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
because I think I would be getting to town around 2 o'clock.
You are more than welcome when you get here if you'd like to come join us at that point. See you really soon. Also, for anyone else if anyone is unable to, for those of you who know you are not coming, everyone who said you're coming, anyone else who knows you aren't going to be here and have already told us that, if you do have specific feedback or points you want brought up and shared with the committee, you can send that to either Gary, Pat, or myself. And I'll make sure that those either questions are brought up or that those specific points are shared with the rest of the group. Other than that, this is the last super late Wednesday night we've had.
Going off of all this is Monday, again, from 12 to 5, just as a reminder. All right, any further public comment? All right, moving on to adjournment. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Trey moves, Brittany seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 7:51 p.m. Cool.